Hello, my friends. We are back with Matthew chapter 7. And the end of chapter 6 was such a good reminder to trust the Lord with, with everything, especially tomorrow. And that we only have today to worry about. And can you do today is one of the mantras that I remind myself of. That's a motto I live by. I'd like to say I live by it, but I have to remind myself of it. Can I do today? And the answer is yes. With God's help, yes, I can do today. Tomorrow, no. It looks very frightening, but I can do today with God's help. So I am one of those people who wakes up a little terrified of the day. I've talked with one other person who wakes up the same way, and I was just so surprised that she had to say that because she is such a strong, bold person. And I had no idea she woke up terrified. But anyway, more than you wanted to know, right? So, and then this verse, when God talks to us in threes, when things happen in threes, I really feel like God is confirming. He says it and he confirms it twice. Well, that's something to pay attention to. And 3 times this verse has come up to me this week. The first time, ironically, I shared it with somebody else. And then 2 days ago, I picked up a devotional, and there it was, the verse of that day. And then here, I'm rereading this, just getting ready for chapter 7, and the second to the last verse of chapter 6. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. I love that. Also, lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Picking up with Matthew chapter 7, do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? For how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take out the log of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet, and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who receives, and he who seeks, for everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. By the way, this is Jesus speaking. Everybody was seated on a hillside, and he started teaching them. So he went from one thing to the next. It's like every single sentence is a life lesson. Verse 8, for everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. For what man is there among you who, when his son asks for a loaf, will give him a stone? For if he asks for a fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask him? In everything, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. For this is the law and the prophets, meaning that summarizes all those books in the Old Testament, all the law and all the prophets, to treat people the same way you would want them to treat you. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter through it. For the gate is small, and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Beware of the false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor figs from thistles, are they? So every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, it makes sense, right? We see it in the orchard. There are doves right outside my window. How fun. Huh. Okay, but speaking to us, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit. That's actually really encouraging, hoping, of course, that we're a good tree. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then you will know them by their fruits. For everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter. Not everyone. You know, each letter and every word is really important. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Wow. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them may be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rains fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the land. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. When Jesus had finished these words, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one having authority, and not as their scribes.